Hello, welcome to this video about astronomy. So more specifically, in this video we're going to talk about the moon. So in this presentation, first I'll talk about some vocabulary for astronomy and the moon, and then we'll talk about how to identify the different phases of the moon. Then we'll talk about a moon position diagram, and then how to use a moon position diagram to understand where the moon is in the sky. So let's start with some vocabulary. First, phases of the moon. So as the moon goes around the Earth, its appearance changes. So sometimes it's very big and bright, sometimes it's just a small sliver. So what are the names of these phases of the moon in English? The first one is new moon. New moon is completely black. New moon you can't see. Next, crescent moon. Crescent moon has this crescent shape, this concave shape. So it's mostly dark with a little bit of light. Next is a gibbous moon. Gibbous is almost full, but not full. You can still see some darkness, some black on the side, but it's mostly light. Next, first quarter moon. So a first quarter moon is exactly half, but the right side is bright and the left side is dark. Next, third quarter moon is also exactly half, but this time the left side is bright and the right side is dark. And then finally, full moon. Okay, let's learn about some more moon vocabulary. So the way the moon changes, so when the moon is getting darker, so from full, darker, 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 darker to new moon, this is called waning, or getting smaller. And when it's getting bigger, it's called waxing. So starting from a new moon, it gets bigger, 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 bigger. This is called waxing. So waning, waxing. Okay, so crescent moon plus plus waxing is waxing crescent. So these three phases of the moon are waxing crescent. So it's a crescent moon, but it's getting bigger. Waxing crescent. Next is waning crescent. So still crescent shape, but getting smaller. And same with gibbous. So we have a waxing gibbous and a waning gibbous. So a waxing gibbous is getting bigger, a waning gibbous is getting smaller. Okay, another very important vocabulary, to rise. To rise means come up from the horizon. So sunrise is a time, let's say it's 6 a.m. So sunrise, the sun comes up. It's sunset. Sunset is the time of day when the sun goes down. So let's say sunset is 6 p.m. So as we can see in this picture, the sun is crossing the horizon. These directions, north, east, south, west. Horizon is when the ground meets the sky, or the water meets the sky. So the horizon is a line, the edge of the land, or the edge of the sky. Shadow. So here's a shadow of a flower, and here's a shadow of a mountain. Bright. Dim. Or as I often say, dark. Zenith. Zenith is the highest point in the sky. So that includes the sun and the moon and stars. They cross the sky as the Earth turns. So the zenith is the highest point. Perspective. So of course this dog is not bigger than the person, but the dog is closer and the person is far away. So this creates an interesting picture because of the perspective. So same with this one. So these people have a different perspective of the number, so their opinion is different. This person sees a 6, this person sees a 9. Illusion. So an illusion is something you see, but it's not really there. For example, this picture is not moving. It looks like it's moving, but that's an illusion. It's not really moving. However, it's a very strong illusion. So even this cat is confused by the illusion. All right, concave and convex. So these words are important for describing the moon's shape. Concave, convex. Okay, so now let's talk about how to identify a waxing moon and a waning moon, and crescent and gibbous. Okay, so if you're looking at the moon, how do you know which phase of the moon it is? So there's many ways to tell. So there's a lot of information on here. So let's take a look at this part first. Let's look at the shape. So the shapes are concave and convex. So these two moons here, these both have a concave shape, which you can see here on this surface. So these are both concave moons. And these bottom moons, these are both convex. So the bright part is convex, and here the bright part is concave. So all concave moons are crescent moons. So this is a crescent moon, this is a crescent moon. And all convex moons are gibbous. So gibbous moon, gibbous. All right, so concave equals crescent, convex equals gibbous. Now let's look at this information. So think about the left side and the right side. So is it dark or bright, basically? So both of these and both of these are the same. So on these two, the left side is dark and the right side is bright. And so for these two moons, it's the opposite. The left side is bright and the right side is dark. So what does this mean? Left side dark, right side bright means waxing. Left side bright, right side dark means waning. So both of these are waxing, both of these are waning. Okay, so let's put this information together. So this one, what phase of the moon is it? It's concave, and it's left side dark, right side bright, therefore it is a waxing crescent. Let's look at this one. It's a concave shape, left side is bright, right side is dark. It's a waning crescent. Now let's look at this one. Its left side is dark, its right side is bright, and it has a convex shape. So it's a waxing gibbous. And then finally, another convex shape. Left side is bright, right side is dark, therefore it is a waning gibbous. Okay, what about these two moons? So this is not concave or convex. It's exactly in the middle, completely flat. So what is this? This is the first quarter moon and third quarter. So just to quickly talk about these follow the same dark, bright rules for left and right. So the first quarter moon, the left side is dark and the right side is bright. And the third quarter, the left side is bright, the right side is dark. Therefore, the first quarter is waxing. Even though we do not say waxing first quarter, we know that first quarter is waxing. So first quarter is getting bigger. And third quarter is waning. It's getting smaller. So you can use this information to identify each phase of the moon. Okay, now let's talk about moon position. So for example, when does the moon rise? Well, when does the sun rise? The sun rises at sunrise, 6 a.m. The sun sets at 6 p.m. But when does the moon rise and when does the moon set? So actually it's always different. Every phase of the moon rises and sets at a different time. Also, where is the moon? Can you look in the sky and find it always? No, it's difficult. Sometimes the moon is in the sky, sometimes it's not. Some nights it is, some nights it's not. Why? So let's learn about why that is, and we can find out when the moon rises and sets and where it is. So first, let's take a look at this important vocabulary. So when talking about the moon, we need to think about sunrise, noon, sunset, and midnight. Sunrise, about 6 a.m. Noon is 12 p.m. Sunset is about 6 p.m. Midnight is 12 a.m. So these words are very important when understanding the moon and the sun. All right, now let's take a look at how to make a moon position diagram. So first, let's take a look at this website. Okay, so this is a very useful website for understanding phases of the moon. And I will post a link to this site in the video below. So notice that the moon goes around the Earth, of course, very slowly. So the Earth turns much faster than the moon goes around the Earth. And so notice how the moon is changing. So the moon always, the direction of change is always this way. So here we have waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, and then third quarter, waning crescent, new moon, and then it starts all over again. So it goes from waxing into waning. So let's take a closer look at this website and how to make a moon position diagram that will help you understand the moon. Okay, so let's take a look at these pictures. So this picture here represents the Earth from space. So we can see a little man on the surface of the Earth, that's us, and the Earth is spinning. And the moon is going around the Earth, and you can see sunlight shining on the Earth and the moon. So that creates a daytime side and a nighttime side on Earth. And on the moon, there's also a bright side and a dark side. So again, this picture represents the Earth from space. This picture represents what we see from Earth, what the moon looks like from Earth. And this represents our perspective, what we can see from Earth. So let's take a close-up look at this horizon diagram. down here. Okay, so this represents what we can see from the ground. So we can again see the directions north, east, south, and west. So this edge, where the green meets the blue, this represents the horizon. So let's move a little bit like this. So now we're facing south. So we have east here on the left, south in the middle, and west on the right. And another way to draw this is with a picture like this. So here again we have the east, south, and west. So this represents the horizon. So this is the same information as this. East, south, west. So now let's take a look at sunrise. Okay, the time is 6 a.m. We can see the sun here in the east, so the sun is rising. Another way to represent that is in a picture like this. As we can see, the sun is in the east, rising. So this is the same information. It's 6 a.m. now. 6 a.m., the sun is rising. Okay, now let's move to 12 p.m. It's 12 p.m. The sun is high in the sky. And we can also represent that in a drawing like this. As we can see, the sun is high in the sky, and we're facing south. Now let's move to sunset. So advance the time to 6 p.m. Now the sun is here in the west, the sun is setting. And we can represent that in a drawing like this. As we can see, the sun is setting in the west. It's 6 o'clock p.m. or 18 o'clock in the 24-hour time. So again, we have the horizon and the movement of the sun across the sky. So now let's ask ourselves, where is the moon? Okay, we're back to this diagram. Let's check the waxing crescent. So this is the waxing crescent, so it's bright on the right side, dark on the left side, concave. And so let's take a look at sunset. "6 p.m. Well, it's hard to see, but here is the moon. Yeah. The moon is here. And so we can represent that in this picture. So the waxing crescent is here in the sky. Now let's take a look at the next phase of the moon. So if we start the animation, the waxing crescent is getting bigger as the moon goes around the Earth. So the next phase is first quarter. And so let's again take a look at this horizon diagram, and we'll go to sunset once again. Okay, we'll go to sunset once again, and let's take a look at where the moon is. So the moon is high in the sky. Here's the sun. And it's kind of hard to see, but here's the moon. And we can represent that with this drawing. So this drawing shows this. So this is sunset again. The first quarter is here in the sky. All right, let's continue the animation. So the moon is moving around the Earth, and the next phase is waxing gibbous. So let's take a look at where the waxing gibbous is in the sky. Okay, so again, set the time to 6 p.m. The sun is setting in the west, and here is the waxing gibbous. We can see it in the eastern sky. So we can represent that with this drawing. So we can see the sun is in the west, it's still sunset. Here's the waxing gibbous. Okay, one more. So let's start the animation up again. So again, the Earth is turning, the moon is spinning. Sorry, the moon is going around the Earth. So the next phase is full moon. So let's take a look at sunset again. So we need to change the time. Okay, it's sunset. Now let's find the moon. Where is the moon? The moon is here. The moon is rising in the east. The sun is setting in the west. So we can represent that with this drawing. Here we see the full moon is rising in the east. The sun is setting. It is sunset, 6 o'clock. So now, if we combine all of these images, it looks like this. So we have at sunset, the sun is setting. The waxing crescent is here at sunset. The first quarter is at zenith at sunset. The full moon is rising at sunset. And this is called a moon position diagram. So this is a way to understand where the moon is in the sky at what time. So if I ask you, where is the first quarter at sunset? It's at zenith. Or if I ask you, what time does the full moon rise? The answer is at sunset. Okay, here's another example of a moon position diagram. So this one is a little bit fancier, but the information is the same. So again, we have sun at sunset. So the sun sets, full moon is rising, and first quarter is at zenith. So these are the waxing moons. Waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon. So we looked at the different moons at sunset. Now let's look at a different time. So let's go forward in time to sunrise. So now it's sunrise, 6 a.m. So here we can see the sun rising, and setting is the full moon, and at zenith is the third quarter moon. So these are waxing moons, waning moons. Waning crescent, third quarter, waning gibbous, full moon. So full moon's not waning, but these are the waning moons. Okay, so how do we use this moon position diagram? So it's important to remember. So from sunrise to sunset, how many hours is it? Well, the answer is 12. So that means from rise to zenith. So for example, from sunrise to noon, how many hours pass? And the answer, of course, is 6. So to go from rise to zenith is 6 hours. To go from zenith to set is another 6 hours. So how do we use this information? Well, for example, if I ask the question, what time does the first quarter moon rise? Well, that's a difficult question. So the moon rises at a different time each day. So let's use this moon position diagram to do that. So we do that by going back and by going forward. So let's try that. So let's go to sunset. Okay, so it's sunset again, 6 p.m. The full moon is rising, the first quarter is at zenith, the sun is setting. So again the question, when does the first quarter moon rise? So we need the first quarter moon to be rising. So let's go back 6 hours. So we want to move the diagram, or find a diagram that shows the first quarter moon rising. So the first quarter is now rising. What time is it? The answer is noon. The first quarter moon rises at noon. All right, let's try another example. When is the full moon at zenith? So again, let's go back to sunset and start there. So when is full moon at zenith? So here's full moon. So now we need to go forward 6 hours. So we want this moon to be here. Okay, now we have full moon at zenith, and the answer is midnight. Full moon is at zenith at midnight. All right, and let's do one more example. So the next question is, when does the new moon set? Well, this is kind of a trick question, because where is new moon on this? I never mentioned new moon. And so new moon is actually the same position as the sun. So remember, we can't see the new moon because it's facing completely towards the sun. So the new moon and the sun have the same time. So when does new moon set? New moon sets at the same time as the sun. So new moon sets at sunset. Okay, so if you want to use this video and use my moon position diagram from the video, you can go back and watch this video again to help you answer these questions. So for homework, I will ask you some similar questions about moon times. So you can use the information you see here. So again, here's a picture of sunset, and here is sunrise. So you should have enough information to answer the questions on the homework. Okay, in this video we learned a lot of information about the moon. We learned about vocabulary, we learned about moon phases, and we learned about moon position. So we learned how to make a diagram to show where the moon is and when the moon rises and sets in each phase of the moon. So I recommend that you go to this website, and so again I will put the link in the description of this video below. And I recommend that you spend some time messing around with this. So this is a very good resource. So here are some things you can do. You can pause the animation, you can change its speed, you can change the day, hour, and minute, and so especially this one, this horizon diagram down here, is a very useful way to help you understand how the sun and the moon look in the sky. All right, so like always, if you have any questions or problems, please send me an email. Thanks for watching.